Conor McGregor allegedly broke a phone that belonged to a man who wanted to take a picture with him?
Conor McGregor, he's just losing it right now.
He wasn't just a fighter. He was a storm. A one-man revolution who kicked down the UFC's front door, grabbed 2 belts, and laughed while doing it. Conor McGregor was the king of combat sports, the swaggering, sharp-tongued Irishman who made millions believe he was untouchable. But today, that same man is drowning in lawsuits, broken bones, bar brawls, and a tidal wave of disgrace. So what the hell happened? How did the most electrifying figure in MMA history go from global icon to public embarrassment? Long before the private jets and luxury watches, there was a skinny kid from Crumlin, Dublin, scrappy, loud, and dead set on greatness. Conor Anthony McGregor was born in 1988 to a working-class family, and from the moment he laced up his first gloves, something was different. He wasn't just fighting to win, he was fighting to be remembered. By 2008, he was tearing through local circuits like Cage Warriors, racking up knockouts with a blend of brutal precision and raw flair. The hype wasn't just real, it was dangerous. In 2013, the UFC finally came calling. And McGregor didn't just arrive. He detonated. He floored Marcus Brimage in his debut, then steamrolled Diego Brando in front of a roaring Dublin crowd. But it was the 13-second obliteration of Jose Aldo at UFC 194 that flipped the MMA world on its head. One punch, one shot, heard around the world. McGregor wasn't just a contender, he was history in motion. And he wasn't done. At UFC 205, he dismantled Eddie Alvarez to become the first fighter in UFC history to hold 2 belts at once, featherweight and lightweight. The double champ era had begun, and McGregor's name was etched in gold. But it wasn't just the fists, it was everything. The walk, the talk, the fire in his eyes. He became a global brand, the Notorious, a man who could shut down press conferences with one line and light up arenas with one punch. For a moment, it felt like nothing could stop him. But even at his peak, behind the spotlight and the swagger, the seeds of chaos were already starting to take root. As McGregor's fists made headlines, his mouth turned him into a marketing machine. The Notorious wasn't just a nickname anymore. It was a carefully polished identity. Designer suits, private yachts, and fast-talking press conferences became part of the package. The humble kid from Dublin had vanished. In his place stood a swaggering icon built for cameras, clicks, and chaos. He started selling more than just fights. He sold himself. His whiskey brand, Proper Number. 12 flew off shelves. Endorsements rolled in. His Instagram morphed into a shrine of excess. Exotic cars, diamond watches, velvet robes, and gold-plated everything. To the outside world, McGregor had won. He wasn't just a fighter. He was a global empire. But something changed. The hunger that once fueled him started to dull. His interviews felt more scripted. His trash talk, once surgical and sharp, grew more vulgar, more forced. What used to be authentic fire now felt like performance. The lines between man and persona had blurred, and Conor wasn't just playing a role anymore. He was living inside the character he'd created. And then it exploded, literally, through the window of a bus. April 2018, Brooklyn, New York. UFC 223 Media Day was supposed to be business as usual, until McGregor showed up uninvited with an entourage and a vendetta. Fueled by a grudge against rival Khabib Nurmagomedov, McGregor went full rampage mode, storming into the Barclays Center loading dock and hurling a metal dolly straight through a bus window carrying UFC fighters. Glass shattered. Fighters were injured. 2 scheduled bouts got cancelled. Chaos reigned. The footage went viral in seconds. McGregor in a fit of rage, screaming, throwing objects, completely out of control. It looked more like a street riot than a fight promotion. And for the first time, fans weren't cheering. They were stunned. What was this? A PR stunt? A meltdown? Or had the fame finally swallowed him whole? McGregor was arrested, charged, and publicly slammed by fellow fighters, UFC brass, and the media. The Notorious had always danced on the edge of controversy, but this time he dove off the cliff. This wasn't hype. This was reckless, dangerous, real. And if anyone thought that moment would be a wake-up call, they were wrong. It was only the beginning. Just 1 year after the bus incident, McGregor found himself in the spotlight again, and not for a comeback fight. In April 2019, a grainy CCTV clip surfaced online. It showed McGregor inside a quiet Dublin pub, offering his whiskey to an older man. The man refused, and in response, McGregor's sucker punched him in the face. No build-up, no warning, just a quick, cheap shot that sent shockwaves through the MMA world. The footage was damning. This wasn't inside the cage. This wasn't heat-of-the-moment adrenaline. It was a calm setting, and McGregor still chose violence over humility. The public turned fast. Fans who once idolized him now labeled him a bully. And for the first time, respect, not wins, was what he lost the most. Sure, he issued an apology, but it was robotic, dry, and far too late. "I was in the wrong," he said, but the damage was done. The headlines wrote themselves, "From champion to thug," and the fallout extended far beyond the pub. McGregor's proper number 12 brand faced backlash. UFC fans began booing instead of cheering. Even longtime supporters online started asking, what happened to the Conor who inspired people? But just when the noise seemed to reach its peak, the courtroom doors swung open, and the allegations inside were far more serious. The bar punch wasn't an isolated slip-up. It was the start of a flood. Over the next few years, McGregor's name would surface again and again, this time in police reports, lawsuits, and courtrooms. Assault accusations, vandalism claims, and multiple incidents of public outbursts turned his Wikipedia page into a legal timeline. The most explosive came in 2025, when McGregor lost a civil lawsuit to a woman named Nikita Hand, who accused him of raping her in a Dublin hotel 6 years prior. The court found him liable, ordering him to pay €250,000 in damages. The verdict made international headlines. Fans were stunned. Haters felt vindicated. McGregor never spoke publicly about the outcome. No statement, no denial, no apology. Just silence and a photo dump of luxury cars and gym selfies on Instagram like nothing had happened. But the world was watching, and the weight of accusation after accusation was starting to crush what was left of his image. Add to that the Miami incident, where he allegedly smashed a fan's phone on the ground after refusing a photo, or the nightclub brawl caught on shaky phone footage, showing McGregor throwing fists like he was still in the octagon. In every case, there was a pattern: aggression, arrogance, and zero accountability. His legal issues weren't just personal. They were public, and each one chipped away at his legacy, turning what was once a warrior's reputation into tabloid fodder. And while all this chaos raged outside the cage, things inside it were breaking down just as fast. Conor McGregor once stood atop the UFC mountain, feared by fighters and worshipped by fans. But by 2018, the cracks in his armor weren't just personal. They were painfully visible in the cage. It started with the highly anticipated clash against Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 229. McGregor had built the fight into a global spectacle with trash talk that crossed every imaginable line, insults about religion, family, and culture. But when the cage door shut, all the noise faded, and Khabib dismantled him. McGregor tapped out in round 4, but the defeat wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. For the first time, his aura of invincibility was shattered. And worse, he didn't take the loss like a warrior. Instead, he doubled down on arrogance, refused to show respect, and fanned the flames of chaos with more public outbursts. Still, some fans held on. Maybe it was just a bad night, they hoped. But that hope vanished in 2021 during his trilogy fight with Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. Midway through the first round, McGregor's leg snapped. He crumbled to the canvas, but even while lying on the mat with a shattered limb, he wasn't done talking, screaming insults at Poirier and his wife in front of a live global audience. It was ugly, it was pathetic, and for many fans, it was the final straw. Commentators were speechless. Joe Rogan called the moment classless. Even Dana White, McGregor's longtime defender, seemed deflated. He's not that hungry fighter anymore, he admitted. He's got everything. And maybe that's the problem. The warrior who once lit up the world had become a cautionary tale. No humility, no growth, just bitterness, excuses, and broken bones. And when the fists stopped flying, the crowd didn't cheer. They looked away. For years, McGregor could do no wrong. Every punch, every insult, every Instagram post was met with a tidal wave of applause. But now, that tide has turned, and it's not just shifting. It's crashing. Online forums, once filled with praise, have gone quiet. Reddit threads echo with regret. Comment sections under his old fights read like eulogies for a man who lost himself. I miss the Conor from 2015. This isn't the same guy. He used to be a warrior. Now he's just noise. Even in Ireland, the place that once celebrated him as a national hero, his murals have been painted over. The streets that once screamed his name now whisper disappointment. Proper number 12 isn't flying off shelves like it used to. Sponsors are pulling back. The UFC is more cautious than ever with his matchups. Behind the money and headlines, the truth is clear. McGregor's brand is rotting from the inside out. And it's not because he lost fights. Everyone loses. It's how he handled those losses. Cocky, defensive, and disconnected. When the world asked for reflection, he gave them arrogance. When fans begged for humility, he gave them hashtags and luxury posts. He didn't just lose matches, he lost people. And the hardest part to swallow? He might never get them back. Conor McGregor didn't just build a brand, he built a myth, a towering persona of power, swagger, and dominance. And over time, that myth became a prison. At some point, he stopped fighting opponents and started fighting to protect an image. The notorious had to be louder, richer, more outrageous every time he appeared. The private jets got bigger, the posts flashier, the insults nastier. But behind the scenes, those moves reeked of desperation, not dominance. And when your fame depends on constant escalation, reality slips. Surrounded by yes men and drowning in millions, McGregor became untouchable. Not in the ring, but in his own mind. No coach could question him. No friend could check him. No loss could humble him. He wasn't chasing greatness anymore. He was chasing attention. And the more he chased, the more respect he left behind. Analysts have said it plainly. McGregor lost the hunger. Without someone pushing him, grounding him, or reminding him why he started, the legend unraveled. It wasn't one scandal or one defeat. It was death by ego, drip by drip. maybe the saddest part? It was all preventable. And now, the man who once said, "We're not here to take part, we're here to take over," is barely even part of the conversation. Conor McGregor's fall isn't just about missed punches or legal battles. It's about what happens when a fighter forgets what made him fight in the first place. He still has the money, the cars, the followers. He could still headline a pay-per-view tomorrow. But the fire, the raw respect that once made him a symbol of grit and greatness, is gone. And no knockout, no whiskey brand, no flashy post can bring that back. What he's lost is deeper. It's the trust of fans who saw themselves in him, who cheered not just for the wins, but for the spirit, the grind, the climb. That version of Conor, the underdog who made history, feels like a ghost now. Scroll through the comments on his old fights, and you'll see it. Not hate, not jealousy, just heartbreak. He used to inspire me. That's not the same man. He threw it all away. McGregor's story will still be told. He'll still make headlines. But the legend, the real legacy, wasn't in the belts or the trash talk. It was in the respect he earned and the millions he moved. That legacy? It's gone. Burned down not by defeat, but by his own hands. And maybe one day, he'll realize that the loudest cheers he ever got were for the version of himself he left behind.